Unlock the 7 miraculous prayers of Saint Benedict to conquer evil and reveal divine peace today. In the quaint village of Oakmoor, where honeyed stone houses whispered old secrets and the air was thick with fragrant incense, Margaret found herself kneeling in the church, seeking refuge. Tom, her husband, was lost in the clutches of addiction. David, their teenage son, was adrift, questioning the very essence of faith. They were once a beacon of laughter and love, but now darkness loomed over their home like a heavy fog. As the flickering candles illuminated the shrine to Saint Benedict, Margaret felt a spark of hope ignite in her heart. The presence of Saint Benedict was palpable. The stories she heard inspired whispers of miraculous changes, the blind receiving sight, the lost finding their way. She felt the stirring of faith deep within, and for the first time in ages, she dared to believe in the impossible. With each prayer, she could almost feel the walls of despair around her family crumbling. Could prayer truly conquer the evil that engulfed Tom? That night, Margaret made a vow. She would cultivate a circle of prayer within her family. Amid the laughter of villagers celebrating the upcoming festival, her heart wept for what had been lost. She envisioned a time when Tom would be free of his chains, David would know the warmth of faith, and laughter would once again fill their lives. The weight of doubt sat heavy in her chest, but she whispered the sacred prayers of Saint Benedict, for she believed they could illuminate their path. As the festival approached, a tension thickened in the air. Twinkling lights hung from every tree, illuminating the village with joy. Yet this joy was a bittersweet reminder of what they once had. Nights spent dancing under the stars had been replaced by silence and despair. How could she pull her family back from the brink? Saint Benedict's words echoed in her mind. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The festival night arrived, cloaked in a crisp, tearful autumn breeze. Margaret clutched a candle, the warmth grounding her against uncertainty. A familiar figure appeared, swaying unsteadily. Tom. Her heart raced as he stumbled past laughter and lights, the glow of joy overshadowed by the shade of addiction. She whispered silent prayers that danced into the night, pleading for divine intervention. The air crackled with tension as Margaret's voice rose in prayer, calling upon Saint Benedict's grace. The world around her faded, consumed by her devotion. Then, amid the chaos, David approached, his brow furrowed in contemplation. He wandered away from the laughter and lights, drawn to his mother's shimmering candlelight. In that sacred moment, the flicker of divine peace began to ripple, igniting something deep within him. As he listened to his mother's fervent whispers, doubt began to dissolve. Could it be? Was Tom ready to confront his demons? The family's future hung in the balance, poised at the edge of darkness and light. As night surrendered to dawn, the flickers of hope surrounding Margaret breathed life into their weary souls. Would Saint Benedict's miraculous prayers heal their broken hearts? It was time they discovered if faith was indeed the light that could lead them home. As dawn broke over Oakmoor, golden rays spilled into the world, painting the village in hues of warmth and new beginnings. Margaret rose with the sun, stretching her weary limbs, but her spirit felt renewed. She approached her altar of prayer, her heart filled with determination. Today would be different. Today she would not just pray her pleas into the ether. Today she would be a warrior of faith. She could sense that change lingered in the air, waiting for the moment to unfurl. With each prayer, she felt stronger, each word coating her thoughts with hope. Saint Benedict's name rolled off her tongue softly, reverently, as she repeated the prayers she had learned. In that sacred morning light, she began to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, miracles were indeed possible. Later, as she made her way to the village square, the festival preparations buzzed around her. Laughter echoed from joyful gatherings, but there remained a gentle tremor in her chest. She glanced around, seeking Tom's familiar face, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man she had loved so fiercely.
But as she moved through the crowd, it was David who caught her attention. Her son stood at a distance, skimming the fringe of the celebration. A deep frown creased his forehead, and for a moment, Margaret's heart ached for him. He appeared so lost, surrounded by people yet utterly alone. Summoning her courage, she approached, her heart racing with a mix of fear and hope. "David," she called out, her voice carrying through the vibrant sounds of the festival. He turned, surprise flickering in his eyes. As she reached him, Margaret felt an enormous wave of love billowing out, wrapping around them both like a protective cloak. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, sensing the sacred importance of this moment. David hesitated, but nodded. They walked to a quieter corner, away from the vibrant festivities. "I've been thinking," he began, looking down at his shoes. "About everything. About Dad, you, and the church." "Please, darling," Margaret replied, cradling his chin, forcing him to meet his gaze. "You can share your heart with me." His voice trembled as he spoke. "It just feels like darkness is winning."
"I don't know how to believe anymore. I want to believe, but seeing Dad struggle, it's hard." Margaret reached for his hand, squeezing it tight. "I understand you, my love. It's hard, and it's okay to feel that way. But we have to choose faith. We have to choose to fight for each other and ourselves, just as Saint Benedict in his prayers fought against evil with love." David's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "What if those prayers don't work? What if we lose?" "Then we remember," she whispered fiercely. "We remember that love never fails. We gather strength from each other and from God. Miracles come from honest hearts reaching out in faith. Let's pray together, David. Let's call upon Saint Benedict." An imperceptible shift seemed to stir in the air, as if the very universe waited with bated breath. David closed his eyes, and Margaret felt warmth envelop them, like a gentle embrace from heaven. As they prayed, the words of Saint Benedict tumbled from their lips, rich and powerful, curving through the air toward the heavens. In that divine moment, the stirring of hope blossomed between them, the shadows receding ever so slightly. Margaret could scarcely believe that her son had chosen to join her. This feeling of unity, of safety, gave her such peace. The sound of laughter drew them back into the present, and though darkness lingered just beyond the threshold, Margaret felt certain that they could face it together. But her heart still tugged at a deeper worry. What if Tom? Would he find the way back to them, or was he still lost in the night? As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the village in joyful light, a burst of faith ignited within her once more. She knew now that the fight against darkness was not just about herself or David. It was about the entire family and the love that needed to anchor them through storms. But as Margaret turned back toward the festival with renewed resolve, the shadow of doubt loomed again. What would happen when Tom confronted the truth? Would he join their circle of prayer, or would he pull away even further into despair? The whispers of Saint Benedict echoed in her heart, leaving her breathless with expectation. Would the power of love and prayer break through the bonds of addiction, reuniting their family? Only time would tell, as the festival began singing its colorful song around them. The festival unfurled around them like a tapestry of life. Colorful banners danced in the breeze, and the sweet scent of pastries floated in the air, but for Margaret, all of it felt muted. Her heart was still heavy with unanswered questions. She glanced at David, who seemed lost in thought, contemplating the fight before them. "Look at them," she said, gesturing toward the gathering crowd. "All this joy. It's beautiful, isn't it?" David nodded, but the frown on his forehead didn't fade. "Yeah, it is. But it feels wrong when Dad is not here. It feels incomplete."
Margaret sighed, her mind swirling with memories of happier times, with Tom leading the dance and playing his guitar, laughter spilling from their home like music. "We have to remember that love is the core of joy," she said gently, "and nurturing it is a commitment we all must make." As the festivities continued, Margaret noticed a woman setting up lanterns nearby. It was Clara, a fellow villager known for her kindness and her unwavering belief in the power of prayer. Seeing her filled Margaret with a sense of purpose. She approached Clara, who was arranging the lanterns with careful hands, each flickering light representing a prayer offered in hope. "Clara, do you think it's possible for the darkness to lift?" Margaret asked, her heart hanging on the reply. Clara paused, looking deeply into Margaret's eyes. "It absolutely can. Each prayer is a beacon.
When we gather together and pray, we shine that light into the world, and it has the power to chase away darkness. We must not let the evil we see overwhelm our hope." Margaret felt a surge of hope, a stirring in her spirit like the gentle morning breeze that caressed her skin. "Can we pray together?" she asked, her voice catching with emotion. "Of course," Clara said, her face lighting up with a radiant smile. They found a quiet corner under a sprawling oak tree, away from the noise of the festival. Clara clasped Margaret's hands in hers, her grip warm and steady. Margaret could feel energy coursing between them, a silent affirmation of faith. Together they closed their eyes and called upon Saint Benedict. "Saint Benedict, hear us," they said in unison, words flowing like a waterfall, filled with intention and fire. "Guide us and bring us peace. May the chains of despair be broken." With each repeated phrase, Margaret felt herself opened, letting the weight of worry and doubt flow out. She envisioned Tom, lost in the shadows, but also imagined a light beckoning him back. Her heart lifted, believing in the strange and beautiful alchemy of prayer. She sensed that each invocation acted like a key, unlocking opportunities for healing and reconciliation. As they prayed, a few villagers began to gather, drawn by the light radiating from under the oak. Faces of worry turned into expressions of hope. It was like the festival shifted, as if God was gently asking those around to touch the divine. They too bowed their heads, joining in their whispers, their voices blending into a sacred melody. A sudden silence enveloped them, a profound peace settling in the air. Margaret opened her eyes, glancing around her. The sincerity of her neighbors stirred something deep within her, a reminder that community was a source of strength. "Look at that," Clara pointed to the gathering. "You see? Every prayer offered creates ripples that expand beyond our reach." And just then, there was a distant sound that drew their eyes toward the edge of the square.
It was Tom's laugh, unmistakably joyous, cutting through the heaviness like a knife through cloth. Margaret felt her breath hitch in her throat, a mix of joy and fear washing over her. Could he have come back? With pounding hearts, they turned to face the gathering. Would he be transformed? Would he embrace the light they had prayed for? As the crowd began to part, revealing Tom, a palpable tension filled the space between hope and doubt. Margaret and David stood together, uncertainty clawing at their hearts. Would love conquer all? Would he step into their circle of prayer, or would he retreat into familiar darkness once more? The answer awaited just beyond the threshold of faith. Would they be ready to welcome him, whatever the outcome? As the crowd parted, the vibrant air thickened with anticipation. Tom stood there, framed by laughter and light, a beacon amidst the gathering shadows. His face, once familiar, now wore a blend of emotions. Joy, yes, yet something deeper, a struggle wrapped in uncertainty that tugged at Margaret's heart. She took a step forward, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "Tom, is it really you?" His laughter faded, replaced by a flicker of recognition. He looked toward her, and for a heartbeat, the world around them seemed to hush. Time suspended itself as Margaret searched his eyes for familiar warmth, a sign that he had returned. "Margaret," he began, his voice laden with the echoes of a journey untold. "I didn't know if I could come back." In that moment, every word she wanted to say bubbled to the surface, but they got caught in her throat. Instead, she took another step closer, her heart pounding with memories. Each prayer they had offered, every flickering lantern, felt alive in the air between them. "It's all right," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "You're here now. That's what matters." David held her gaze, his own uncertainty mirrored in Tom's eyes. Clara stepped forward, emboldened by faith, raising her arm slightly in a welcoming gesture. "You are loved, Tom. We've been praying for you, and we believe there is hope for you here." The crowd began to gather around them, encouraging murmurs rippling through the air. Someone in the back cried out, "Come back to us, Tom. We've missed you." Margaret felt the heat of emotion swirl within her. Every prayer, every whisper shared beneath the oak seemed to repurpose itself into an invitation. This was more than a reunion. It was a chance for healing, for love to pierce through the remnants of darkness that had trailed behind him. "But I've wandered far," Tom admitted, his voice a low hum, raw and vulnerable. Margaret held her breath. "Then share it with us. We're here together, and we can face it as one." He seemed to visibly struggle with the weight of his past. For a moment, clashing thoughts played across his face, a face she loved, filled with light and shadows. "Can it ever be the same?"
He asked softly, eyes darting from Margaret to the crowd. "Can we truly forget the darkness?" Clara stepped forward again. "The light of Saint Benedict shines brighter than any darkness we face. It is hope that holds us together, the love that nurtures our souls. You may have wandered, Tom, but light can always find you. The villagers nodded in agreement, an undeniable spirit of unity rising among them. Margaret felt tears prick at her eyes. There was no denying the power of this moment. It felt like pieces of a puzzle falling into place, each prayer they had raised giving way to extraordinary possibility. Tom looked at her again, and Margaret saw a flicker of something, a hope mixed with a dawning trust. But still, uncertainty lingered like a shadow. "Will you accept me as I am, even with all I carry?" Margaret stepped forward, her heart racing. "Tom, love doesn't ask for perfection. It welcomes you as you are, with everything you've been through. Let us embrace the journey together." In that shared stillness, time shifted once more, shifting the air thick with expectancy. Would the faith that had gathered around them spark a divine transformation? Could his past melt away in the warmth of communal love and prayer? Margaret extended her hand, fingertips brushing against possibility. Within that gentle gesture lay an invitation to newfound grace, and as their fingertips met, the veil of darkness felt both fragile and primordial. Something shifted in the crowd, a ripple of silence deepening, filled with collective faith. Across the square, lanterns began to glow brighter, each flame speaking a promise. What lay ahead? Were they ripe for the miracle they all longed for? As the sun dipped lower, casting gentle hues over the celebration, the ultimate question remained, poised on the edge of revelation. Would Tom step fully into this circle of light and hope, or would he turn back into the shadows once more? Tom stood there, his hand hovering slightly above Margaret's. The warmth of hope radiated around them, yet a sliver of doubt lingered in his heart. What if he had not truly found his way back? What if this moment, this promised acceptance, was another fleeting illusion destined to slip away into the night? "Tom," Clara's voice chimed gently, diffusing the thick tension in the air. "Let us not dwell in fear. This is a moment for revival, for rebirth. You have the strength within you to embrace this path." Their gazes locked, and Margaret saw a flicker of recognition pass between Tom and Clara. It was a reminder of their shared journey, a divine thread woven through their lives, leading him back to this very moment. As the villagers around them lifted their voices in prayer, a harmonious crescendo filled the air. Each word was like a thread stitching hope into the fabric of their gathering, urging Tom towards that radiant light whose warmth undid the chill of lingering shadows. "Don't be afraid," Margaret said softly, squeezing his hand.
We've faced storms before, and together we've weathered them. You can share your burdens, and we will lift them. Tom's shoulders relaxed slightly, as if the weight of the world was being shared. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the present. "I've seen pain, darkness, a loss that has followed me," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "The things I've wanted to forget clung to me like shadows." "Those shadows may have followed you," Clara interjected, "but they do not define you. Just as the night is but a prelude to dawn, your past is not the end of the story. There is a light in you, Tom, waiting to emerge." The crowd's murmurs shifted to support, building a tide of hope that swelled around him like a warm embrace. Tom glanced over their faces, seeing an amalgamation of love and belief, their eyes shining with faith. He began to understand that this was not merely a gathering of individuals, it was a family, unified under the banner of grace. "Can I really leave it behind?" he questioned, his voice trembling with vulnerability. "You don't have to do it alone," Margaret reminded him, her words wrapped in affection. "All you need to do is take that brave step forward, believe that you are worthy of love, and that you belong here." In that moment, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the square. Each lantern's flame flickered with promises of redemption, urging him forward. The air shimmered with divine anticipation. Tom breathed in deeply, anchoring himself in that collective faith. It was more than just the hope of others. It was the pulse of divine connection resonating within him, a sacred heartbeat he believed he could follow. With a tentative step, he moved closer to the full circle of light, drawn by the warmth that spread from their gathered souls. The villagers, sensing his shift, raised their voices higher, a beautiful chorus wrapping around him. With every note, Tom felt the grasp of shadows loosening, a whisper of freedom beckoning him forward. "Will you join us?" Clara asked, her enthusiasm infectious. "Will you let our love guide you back to the light?" As he stood at the threshold, a choice unfolded before him, pregnant with possibilities. He could stay shackled to the weight of his past, or he could embrace the call of love
and step into this moment of grace. In that very instant, a surge of clarity washed over him. Yes, he declared, his voice steadying with newfound resolve, I choose to embrace love. I choose to let go. As their hands united in a sacred circle, a gentle wind rustled through the square, igniting the lanterns. Each flickering flame surged brighter, illuminating the way forward, not just for Tom, but for everyone gathered under the spirit of hope. What would be revealed in their shared act of faith? Would the shadows of the past truly fade, making way for a miraculous transformation?
As they embraced this new beginning, the very fabric of their existence seemed poised for a divine revelation. What awaited them in their next step, where the sacred would collide with their faith? As Tom stepped into the warmth of the sacred circle, a gentle hush spread across the square. The villagers leaned in, their collective energy drawing him closer to the heart of their faith. It felt as though the air itself vibrated with expectation, a divine current pulsing through the very essence of the moment. With hands joined, Tom could feel the living, breathing power of the community enveloping him. It was as if their shared love formed a protective cocoon, knitting together spirits in a bond of unity and strength. He glanced around, absorbing the faces filled with love, radiance, and unwavering belief. Each person carried a piece of the light, illuminating his heart. Let the past be a lesson, not a chain, Clara encouraged. Her voice echoed like a soothing balm, wrapping around Tom and easing the last remnants of apprehension. Embrace the gifts of grace that come with letting go. Tom nodded slowly, starting to understand the depth of her wisdom. Holding tightly to bitterness or regret only suffocated his spirit. He began to release his grip on the shadows that had haunted him, recognizing them for what they were, reminders of battles fought, lessons learned, and the potential for growth. The wind swirled gently, whispering through the open square, carrying with it the sweet scent of wildflowers and the promise of new beginnings. Heavenly Father, he breathed inwardly, surrendering his fears, guide me into the light of your love. The villagers responded with an outpouring of prayer, their voices weaving a tapestry of praise that ascended toward the heavens. Each prayer was a rescue line thrown in the vast sea of uncertainty, anchoring him securely to hope. Each amen resonated like a drumbeat, heartening his resolve. Feel it, Tom, Margaret urged, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. Let it fill you. This is the moment when the chains fall away. Today is your rebirth. As he concentrated on the warmth swelling within him, Tom felt a surge of power unlike anything he had ever known. It flowed through him, a torrent of love mingled with faith, intertwining with the breath of the gathered souls. In that magnificent moment, clarity blossomed. His burdens melted into the ether, their weight transformed into wings. Suddenly, an unmistakable shift enveloped the crowd. The flames of the lanterns danced higher, igniting brilliant colors in the deepening dusk. A radiant light burst forth at the center of their clasped hands, cascading waves of warmth that ebbed and flowed like an unseen tide. A soft glow emanated from his heart, masking the remnants of doubt that still clung to him. Feel that warmth? It is love's embrace, whispered Clara. You have stepped into it, and now it's time to let it lead you.
With a bead of shared conviction, Tom opened his eyes to meet the gazes surrounding him. They were filled not only with love, but also with an unwavering belief in the miracles that would arise when souls unite in faith. Their trust ignited something deeper within him, a sacred presence he could hardly articulate. What is this, Lord? He pondered silently, captivated by the electric beauty unfurling around him. The air shimmered and sparkled, as though the very heavens were joining their celebration. And in that instant, everything around him shifted. He could see the stark contrasts of his past struggles against the vibrant hues of hope. It dawned on him, this was not simply about him, it was for everyone who had ever felt lost and alone. As he opened his heart wider, a prayer formed. Lord, guide me and my brothers and sisters forward to reveal your glory in our lives. May our transformation shine as a beacon of hope for others. As his voice rose with the collective prayer, the atmosphere quaked with faith and fervor. But then, as Tom stepped deeper into the warmth of the light, his questioning heart stirred anew. What awaited him beyond this moment? Would the past yield fully, leaving room for him to lead others into the same embrace of freedom? And could the light within him ignite hope in those still dwelling in shadows? He could feel the divine stir of the unknown, ever beckoning him to take the next leap of faith. What awaited in the unfolding chapters of their shared journey? As Tom stood immersed in the warmth of the collective spirit, the vibrant light felt like a divine invitation. Something deep within him stirred, a yearning not just to receive the light, but to be a vessel of it. His heart raced at the thought of what that might look like, how such a transformation could ripple through his life and the lives of those around him. Clara's voice drew him back momentarily. Tom, the light is not just for you. It's meant to be shared, to touch the hearts of those seeking solace. Her eyes sparkled with understanding, as if she could sense the struggle within him. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. But how? He whispered, unsure of where to begin. The answer lies in prayer, Margaret spoke softly, the words weaving a thread of safety around them. Prayer is the channel that connects us to divine power. It brings us clarity when we feel lost, and peace when chaos surrounds us. Tom recalled the times he had ignored his prayer life, how easily distractions had clouded his heart. But tonight was different. There was an urgency in the air, a beckoning to step forward with faith and conviction. Together we will lift our voices and pray, Clara instructed, her tone strong yet tender. Let each prayer lead us deeper into his love. The crowd swelled in unity, hands still clasped tightly, creating an energy that pulsed with life.
Tom closed his eyes again, this time envisioning the faces of those he felt called to help, the lonely, the broken, those trapped in the dark. His heart ached with compassion, the kind that ignites when one truly sees the struggles of others. Father, Tom started, his voice steady, guide me to be a beacon, to reflect your love to those in despair. As he spoke, he was surprised to find that each word came with a deep well of emotion, each intention heartfelt and earnest. Let your peace wash over those who suffer, the villagers responded in unison, their voices intertwined in a glorious cry for healing. Joy surged through Tom's veins, lifting him ever higher, and he could feel the presence of the divine wrapping around him. As the prayers mounted, a beautiful richness filled the air. His soul felt intertwined with the essence of every voice raised in faith. The lanterns flickered, as if responding. Tiny stars in their soft glow mirrored his heart's budding resolve. May our prayers be a force against despair and darkness, Clara's voice rang out, sending a shiver of excitement through the group. May they unlock miracles within us and around us. The moment gripped Tom tightly. Would his humble attempt to reach out be enough? Could he truly transform the world starting from his own heart? Suddenly, a palpable silence enveloped them, the kind filled with sacred anticipation. The lingering air shimmered, and he felt an invisible web of connection binding everyone to the divine. It was clear, their faith was a powerful force, meant to uplift and reshape their community. Yet, even as his heart soared with hope, doubt whispered in the corners of his mind. Was he truly ready to allow himself to be an instrument of such profound love? The light continued to shift, casting beams that illuminated not just the square, but the shadows within. What if I stutter? He pondered. What if I falter? Deep within, a warmth nudged against those fears, whispering the simple truth that it wasn't about perfection, but surrender. Lord, let my heart be open, he found himself praying again. Show me the way through the cracks of my uncertainty. The villagers exhaled collectively, their breath a tangible wave that stirred the atmosphere once more. Together, let's be the light, they proclaimed, igniting a chant that began to rise, filling the square with an almost palpable energy. And as their voices soared, Tom looked ahead with anticipation, knowing they were on the brink of something miraculous. In the cocoon of faith, could he really embrace the call to lead? And what wonders would unfold when he stepped further into the light? The sacred journey was only just beginning. As the voices reverberated through the square, Tom felt the fire of connection sparked by their unity. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. He opened his eyes, the vibrant light shining even brighter now, radiating hope into the hearts gathered around him. Each face ranged from youthful anticipation to weathered longing. These were people who craved a touch of the divine. Let's pray for those who walk in darkness, Clara encouraged, her voice gentle yet piercing. For those who have yet to see the light.
Like a wave, the words washed over them, and Tom understood in that moment the significance of his role. He was not just a participant, he was an instigator of love, an architect of hope. "Father," he began again, his voice trembling with raw emotion, "I pray for our neighbors who suffer in silence, for those battling thoughts that keep them chained in despair." Each phrase resonated deeply, filling the already charged atmosphere. The villagers echoed him, their voices merging into a symphony of supplication. "Bring them comfort, Lord. Illuminate their path." The fervor of their prayers was a tangible force, palpable in the air, as if they were weaving a tapestry of light that enveloped the entire square. It was a beautiful testament to faith, and it wrapped around Tom's heart like a warm embrace. After what felt like an eternity, a hush fell upon the crowd. The silence hummed with divine expectation. Something shifted in the air, as if the very fabric of reality had thinned. Tom could see the subtle glow of the lanterns flickering with life and movement. It was then that he felt the urge to step forward, to relinquish the heavy burden of doubt. With a deep breath, he proclaimed louder, "Let us be vessels of your peace. Let us be messengers of hope." His passion ignited a fresh wave of prayers, lifting it higher to the heavens. "Let his light guide our actions and our words," the villagers responded, their hands still clasped, their spirits intertwined. As they prayed together, tears glistened in some eyes, a reflection of gratefulness, while others beamed with a radiant joy they hadn't felt in years. Tom's heart swelled as they shared this sacred moment, feeding off each other's faith. He began to realize that it wasn't just about him leading, it was about all of them stepping into this new reality together. In the midst of their prayers, a sudden stillness tugged at Tom's spirit, a whisper that beckoned him inward. He sensed a profound revelation forming within the depths of his heart. What if the prayers we send forth become the seeds of miracles? What if our faith activates something divine? With that thought, a wild excitement coursed through him. "Lord," he breathed, his voice trembling with urgency, "may our hearts be attuned to your whispers. May we see the miracles unfolding before us." The crowd erupted with renewed fervor. The sacred energy surged, colliding with each fervent plea. "May we reflect your love in all that we do," Clara declared, lifting her arms as if beckoning the heavens to join them. Tom felt his own hands rise unconsciously, mirroring her gesture. He was part of something bigger than himself, something holy.
Each word spoken was more than a prayer. It was a promise to embody divine love in the world around him. But then doubt slipped back in, creeping like a shadow. What if I fail to deliver on those promises? What if my love isn't enough? The prayer around him didn't waver, though. They pressed in closer, each calling out for the strength to be more than they were yesterday. The whole square shimmered with anticipation. As they prayed, a soft light began to swirl at the center of their gathering, pulsating with intensity. Tom's breath caught in his throat as he watched the beauty unfold. What was happening? Was this the moment they had all been waiting for? With hearts united, they stood at the cusp of something extraordinary. The light began to ripple, and as clarity washed over them, the entire square seemed to hold its breath. What miracles lay ahead, and how might their faith activate the very divine presence they called upon? Tom's heart raced as he felt the call of the unknown pulling him forward. What was God waiting to manifest in their midst? The light at the center of the square began to intensify, illuminating the faces around Tom with a soft, golden glow. He could see hope reflected in their eyes, and it ignited something deep within him. This wasn't just a gathering of souls, it was the birth of something divine. He felt the warm tendrils of faith wrap around him, pulling him closer to the unfolding wonder. "Can you feel that?" a voice whispered from somewhere behind him. It was Clara, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "The Spirit is moving among us." Tom nodded, not breaking his gaze from the dancing light. "I can sense it, like a hug from heaven."
As the energy within the square intensified, the prayers echoed and mingled, forming a melody that transcended spoken words. They resonated with one another, harmonizing not just in sound but in spirit. Tom's heart quickened as he contemplated the power of their collective intention. This was what they had prayed for, an awakening, a response to their cries for mercy. Suddenly, the light shifted into brilliant colors, swirling and twinkling like stars scattered across the night sky. The atmosphere became electric, vibrating with divine presence. Tom could hardly contain his awe. This was miraculous. "Lord, reveal yourself to us," he shouted, caught up in the momentum of the moment. "Show us the way." Each heart beat in time, a syncopated rhythm of devotion, as Clara and the villagers chimed in, their voices filling the air with fervent expectancy. "Reveal yourself. Let us glimpse your glory." And then it happened. A rush of wind swept through the square, swirling among the people. It carried with it an invigorating scent of blooming flowers, a hint of spring that awakened deep-seated memories of joy and renewal. Their eyes widened, discovering joy in the unlikeliest of places. Tom felt a surge of courage ripple through him. "Stay open," he called, his voice steady and inviting.
Let us not close our hearts to the miracles unfolding before us. His words hung in the air, a challenge, a plea, a mantra. The villagers took a breath, as if they were inhaling faith itself. As they embraced the atmosphere, glimmers of light began touching individuals, as if the divine was reaching down to whisper promises tailored for each heart. Tom felt heat radiating from one prayer to another, echoing through the congregation's spirit. It was like every prayer spoken was a stone thrown into a pond, and ripples of hope spread outward, touching lives yet untouched. But amid the excitement, uncertainty coiled within him again. What if this light dims? What if the moment slips away? His mind wrestled with shadows of fear, but another part of him wrestled back, a determination to believe. Trust in the moments given, he reminded himself, recalling the flicker of faith that had led him here. Each breath became an anchor, grounding him in faith. The swirling light flickered, setting hearts aglow, and Tom saw the villagers, their eyes shining, hands raised in surrender and praise. He realized they were no longer just observers. They were participants in this divine dance. Miracles are not always grand. Sometimes they are in the smallest of gestures, the simplest of prayers, Clara exclaimed, her voice breaking through the electric atmosphere. Tom turned to her, their eyes locking. He clearly saw her heart, filled with belief. Will we be brave enough to embrace our role in this miracle? With that, Tom felt a new resolve. They would not merely witness what was to come, but actively be part of its unfolding. The call to courage became a palpable force among them. They shouted praises together, nurturing a sense of fearless connection intertwined with faith. Lives transformed, hearts renewed. But just as clarity seemed to wash over them, a new question arose in the air, laden with divine mystery. Are we prepared for the answers that await? Tom pondered aloud. The anticipation hung thick, like humidity before a summer storm. What new revelations would be poured out upon them? How would they respond when the true miracles faced them? The light flickered and swirled as the thought took root. The next chapter awaited, and with it came the promise of even greater transformation. What would the awakening demand of their hearts? What paths were set before them? As the vibrant colors continued to pulse around them, the atmosphere shimmered like the surface of a tranquil lake, reflecting the beauty that had blossomed from their faith. Tom felt a palpable tension in the air, a blend of excitement and serenity. It was as if the divine presence itself was smiling upon them, beckoning them to take their first step into the unknown. "Lord, we are ready," he shouted, his voice unwavering. "Guide us into the unfolding of your miracles." The villagers responded with renewed fervor, their chants intertwining like fragrant vines, wrapping around each heart and infusing the air with sacred energy. Together, they began to chant the names of their burdens, addictions, fears, and pain, laying them at the altar of faith. "Let go of doubt," Clara called out, her spirit shining like the morning sun. "Let love wash over you as we pray." Each soul stood alive with purpose, illuminated in the warmth of their shared burdens.
With hands still clasped, the villagers leaned closer, forming a dense circle of faith. Tom felt his heart swell with gratitude and determination. They were not merely gathered, they were vessels of his hope, destined to carry forth his love. As they lifted their voices in heartfelt prayer, the light above them shifted, cascading like waterfalls, pouring down a divine blessing over their assembly. It felt as if the heavens themselves were rejoicing. Tom could sense something stir within him, his old self receding, while a new identity emerged, one suffused with potential. "May our voices be lifted in unity, in faith," cried Margaret, her tears shimmering like diamonds around her, a glow of joy radiating from every fiber of her being. "May we feel the tangible presence of grace." In that profound moment, it struck Tom that this was not just a fleeting occurrence. It was a movement, a revolution of love that began with one woman's undying faith. Margaret had not only prayed for a change, she had initiated a miracle that began to envelop them all. As hope exploded around them, Tom turned his gaze inward. Can I really embrace this light? Share it with others in need? The question lingered like a breath, and for the first time, he felt ready to embrace both the light and his past, the darkness that had preceded him. "Embrace it," Clara called excitedly, as though reading his unspoken thoughts. "Every single part of you exists for this moment. What you've walked through will become the foundation for those you will help. You carry a light of redemption." Tears streamed down his face as he nodded, realization dawning upon him. His journey had not been wasted. Every struggle had echoed with possibilities, a testament to what grace can do. He stepped forward, feeling lighter than air. "Let my life be a beacon. I pledge to help those in need, to show them that love breaks chains and opens doors." A deafening cheer erupted from the villagers, their collective faith swelling to fill the square. Tom's heart soared. They were beginning to see the tapestry of change weave together, a mosaic made from many broken pieces, now united in the divine harmony of love. As they continued to pray, the swirling light coalesced into a vibrant figure, a manifestation of hope before their eyes. Tom's breath hitched at the wonder unfolding. It was not just a vision, but an embodiment of every prayer they had uttered, every tear they had shed.
The community was learning, growing, and witnessing miracles blend into an exquisite reality. "What is this?" he whispered, both awed and terrified. The warmth surged around him, illuminating every corner of his being. "This is life emerging from love," Clara replied, her voice like a lilting song. "Our faith made manifest. The change we sought is coming to life." With excited energy racing through him, Tom took a deep breath, each inhalation inviting peace and clarity. "We can illuminate the world around us," he declared, "if we step into the light together." The crowd burst into applause, lifting their hands high in exultation. Joy erupted like flames from a bonfire, consuming the remnants of despair. In that sacred moment, Tom understood that they were all meant to shine, their narratives woven together into a powerful testament of hope and resilience. As the night deepened, lanterns flickered to life around them, a physical reminder of the prayers they had offered. It was a reflection of the radiance now residing within. Tom grasped Margaret's hand tightly, their connection deep and full of understanding. Together they had fought for each other, and together they would advocate for all those still waiting for their own miracles to manifest. "Let's continue to pray for those still lost," she prompted, her eyes sparkling. "Let's be those lights they need as they find their way home." "What do we do?" David interrupted, his energy infectious. "How do we share the light?" Tom smiled, feeling the warmth of camaraderie wash over him. "Through kindness, through service. We start right here in Oakmore, extending our hands to those in need. Let's create a community of care where love reigns above all." "Yes!" Clara cheered, excitement anew spilling over. "We can invite others to join us. A movement of prayer and love, a network of strength binding us all together." As their resolve solidified in resolve, they began to return to the very roots of their village, a new commitment to generosity, to compassion, and to unwavering faith, ushering in an era of light. Each voice rose together like a sacred hymn, their hearts entwined in mutual respect and love. "Let us be the broken vessels that hold His glory," they declared together, a wave of promise cascading through the night. And in that moment, against the backdrop of a boundless sky adorned with stars, a solid truth anchored itself in their hearts. They could, indeed, be the light.
They would take the love they shared and carry it into the world, paving the way for miracles, healing, and the resounding echoes of joy reverberating through Oakmore and beyond. This was their sacred beginning, their luminous testament to love conquering darkness. The path ahead was radiant, forged by faith and unwavering devotion. Would they gather more souls into their fold? Would more hearts ignite with hope? Only time would tell.
Friends, you need to subscribe now to this channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that illuminate our path to love and hope. Leave a like now and help us spread the message of transformation and divine care. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this magnificent ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of faith. Remember, only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting this divine journey. Join us now.